She blazed forth as the most dazzling star of the Victorian era, a name alone enough to light up every opera house and theatre across the whole of Paris. Nellie Melba, a remarkable woman who rose out of the remote wild outback plains of Australia, conquered the arrogant old European world purely with the incomparable beauty of her singing voice. Beneath her gorgeous satin gowns, glittering diamond crowns and glamorous stage radiance lay an almost obsessive hunger for fame, wealth and social prestige. Along with a lifelong unfulfilled longing for the red earth and distant southern homeland she left behind. Tonight, wrapped in soft dim lamplight, we step into the real life of this legendary opera queen, exploring her journey filled with glorious triumph, fierce controversy, quiet loneliness and heartfelt belonging. You may have tasted the delicate classic dessert named after her, yet you might never have listened to her bell-like crystal-clear operatic arias. The life of Nellie Melba stands as an epic tale of a brave woman breaking free from the rigid traditional chains of her time, building an unparalleled artistic and commercial empire all by her own talent and determination. She once spoke sharply and arrogantly of her rivals, yet kissed the opera stage with deep, sincere devotion. She was the favored darling of the glamorous, fame-driven social circle, and also a lonely wandering traveler carrying quiet longing in her heart. Tonight, accompanied by the soft flickering glow of the burning hearth, let us listen to the old stories woven around extraordinary success, burning ambition and the quiet yearning to return home. Close your eyes and you can almost hear the timeless lingering echo of Melba's voice traveling across vast oceans spanning endless years, still resounding gently in the quiet night. When Nellie Melba first stepped onto the stage of London Covent Garden Theatre, no one in the European music circle believed this unknown Australian woman could ever achieve lasting success against the elite European divas of her time. Yet she defied all doubt and prejudice and made her dream come true, rising swiftly to become an iconic cultural symbol of her age, the living embodiment of ultimate vocal perfection and artistic grace. Amid the endless waves of curtain calls, thunderous applause and endless public admiration, she must have paused to wonder about the heavy hidden prices she had paid for such overwhelming success. In this quiet late-night moment, we slowly peel away the glamorous, dazzling outer shell of this opera queen, reaching deep inside to touch her grand wandering soul, forever caught between desperate ambition, heartfelt desire and the quiet longing to find her true self. If you walk into the finest high-end restaurants in London today and glance down the dessert menu, you will likely find exquisite delicate treats named Melba toast and peach Melba. People savor the rich sweet cream and delicate fruit flavors, yet most have long forgotten that this famous name once belonged to a woman before whom the entire European nobility bowed in admiration. She once demanded theaters hang a huge golden plaque on her dressing room door bearing only one simple regal title: Queen. In the early 20th century, the name Nellie Melba transcended all national borders, standing as a priceless symbol representing the highest level of vocal art, unparalleled fame and elite social status. Tonight, accompanied by the softly flickering glow of the hearth, we walk fully into the untold life of this remarkable soul. We trace how this woman, born in the desolate barren wilderness of Australia, single-handedly broke open the male-dominated elitist world of classical opera, carving out her own glorious place against all odds. We also explore why, after winning every honor, fame and luxury life could offer, she faced relentless harsh judgment over her private life, spending her later years performing one endless farewell concert after another, trapped in cycles of reluctant goodbye and quiet regret. Relax your breathing and let our story begin with that uniquely pure, resonant voice carrying the raw, untamed breath of Australia's red earth, utterly unlike any sound familiar to European ears. Back in 1882 in Queensland, Australia, the sun blazed fiercely over endless open land where the air carried the rich earthy scent of soil mixed with the sweet fermented aroma of sugarcane. Nellie Melba, still known then by her birth name Nellie Mitchell, sat aboard a rickety bouncing cart, staring blankly out across the boundless lonely wilderness. She had just escaped a disastrous, unhappy marriage, trapped with a rough, uncivilized husband prone to heavy drinking and violent outbursts, a life that stretched before her, dull, hopeless and unchanging in that rigid conservative era. For a single young mother with a small child to leave her hometown and chase artistic dreams across the vast ocean was regarded as reckless self-destruction and social ruin. Yet deep within Nellie's heart burned an unyielding fire, ignited long ago when she first heard the powerful roaring sound of a pipe organ echoing inside a Melbourne church. Driven by fierce resolve, she made a decision deemed scandalous and unrestrained by society. She abandoned her lifeless, loveless marriage, took her young child with her, spent nearly all her savings and boarded a ship bound for Europe 16,000 kilometers away. Rocking gently inside her cramped cabin, Nellie watched the Australian coastline fade slowly into the distant horizon. She shed no tears, only holding within her heart a cold, fierce determination to conquer the pinnacle of the old European world. She chose to reinvent herself, taking her stage name From her beloved hometown Melbourne, and from that moment the legendary Nellie Melba was born. This change was far more than merely adopting an artistic alias. It marked a painful, deliberate separation from her old identity, a bold act of self-reinvention to rewrite her own destined path. She understood clearly that to stand firm in proud Victorian London surrounded by old-world arrogance, prejudice and elite exclusivity, she needed not only a voice blessed by heaven itself but also a will harder and colder than frozen ice. On a cold, misty winter morning in Paris, Nellie Melba arrived at the door of the legendary vocal master Madame Marquesi, placing all her hopes and future upon this final chance. The moment she sang her first soaring high note, the strict, experienced teacher who had trained countless famous opera divas rushed out of the room, calling excitedly to her husband, "I have finally discovered pure gold." Madame Marquesi's sharp artistic intuition proved absolutely correct. Nellie's voice held an otherworldly, flawless purity, like smooth round pearls rolling across a polished silver plate without the slightest imperfection or flaw. Yet the exclusive European social circle was unwilling to welcome this young woman, dismissed as a simple country girl from the Australian outback. On the night of her first London debut, music critics wrote cruel, scathing reviews mocking her stiff, awkward stage acting, claiming her singing lacked the graceful charm and subtle elegance of refined European female vocalists. These bitter taunts and dismissive remarks never broke her spirit, instead awakening the tough, untamed resilience rooted deep in her outback upbringing. She threw herself into relentless, dedicated study, mastering fluent French, German and Italian, observing every subtle gesture, mannerism and etiquette of noble ladies, learning to blend seamlessly into metropolitan high society and hide her rough rural roots beneath polished composure. She carefully shaped and cultivated her public persona, understanding fully that in the glamorous, extravagant world of high art, deliberate mystery, quiet arrogance and dignified reserve formed the perfect staircase leading to the throne of opera royalty. She declined ordinary, trivial social gatherings, appearing only at the most exclusive, prestigious events, even when privately struggling with anxiety over earning enough money to cover her son's education fees. Her relentless self-discipline, precise calculation of public image and single-minded pursuit of fame allowed her to rise rapidly within just 5 years, becoming the undisputed ruling diva of London Covent Garden Theatre. When she stepped onto that same stage once again, the same audiences who once mocked and underestimated her now lined up patiently for hours in cold wind and rain simply to hear her sing one gentle, haunting melody from La Bohème. Fame and glory are always a double-edged sword, capable of weaving the most luxurious, elegant cloak around your shoulders while piercing straight into your deepest hidden vulnerabilities. At the height of Nellie Melba's career, her private life became the most talked-about sensational topic across every major newspaper and social circle in Europe. Her passionate, well-publicized romance with the Duke of Orleans, heir to the French royal throne, nearly shattered the perfect, dignified public image she had carefully built for years. The social atmosphere of that era was steeped in hypocritical double standards. Noble men could openly keep countless lovers without judgment, while any successful, powerful woman daring to pursue love freely was immediately condemned as morally corrupt and disgraceful. Nellie faced relentless pressure on all sides: a bitter divorce lawsuit filed by her former husband back in Australia, collective rejection and condemnation from religious authorities and high society elite standing united to isolate and discredit her. At this critical turning point of fate, Nellie revealed astonishing cold resolve, cutting off all contact with the Duke without hesitation, retreating into her private dressing room, shutting herself away from public view. She understood perfectly within the ruthless game of power and reputation, noblemen could afford to lose love and social standing, yet she could never afford to lose her voice, the only true armor protecting her survival and status. She returned firmly to the opera stage, performing sacred hymns with an almost divine, untouchable grace, using the sublime height of her artistic mastery to silence endless malicious gossip and public criticism. Her relentless obsession with fame, status and artistic supremacy gradually made her appear sharp, difficult and unapproachable to those around her. She even used her powerful influence to block emerging young singers whose talent might one day threaten her dominant position. Her private dressing room overflowed with priceless jewels and precious gifts bestowed by royal patrons, yet after the final curtain fell, when she sat alone before her dressing mirror removing heavy stage makeup, the woman staring back remained still the lonely, vulnerable young girl once lost in the vast, quiet Australian wilderness. She had built an enormous, unshakable empire of fame, wealth and prestige, yet trapped herself inside its golden walls, living out her days as a solitary queen with no true companion or inner peace. In 1902, after 16 long years living abroad in Europe, Nellie Melba made up her mind to return to her Australian homeland, the place where her life journey first began. This homecoming should have been a glorious, triumphant return, yet for Nellie it unfolded as a complex emotional journey filled with inner conflict, quiet struggle and tangled belonging. The Australian people embraced her proudly as a national icon. Thousands flocked to the docks of Melbourne simply to catch a glimpse of the celebrated diva, blessed and admired by all of Europe when she sang the deeply nostalgic, heartfelt ballad Home Sweet Home on stage. Tough-weathered miners in the audience shed quiet tears of sincere emotion beneath this warm outpouring of national pride and affection. Nellie felt a profound sense of unease arising from an unbridgeable rift between herself and her homeland. She had long grown accustomed to the refined elegance of Parisian perfume, London silk fashion and sophisticated Viennese etiquette, while Australia remained raw, plain, unpolished and unrefined. In her eyes she cherished deeply the rugged red earth that had given her inner strength, resilience and fortitude, yet secretly looked down upon its simplicity, backward ways and lack of sophisticated culture. She once sparked widespread public controversy during an Australian tour, complaining that first-class train accommodation at home lacked the comfort and luxury she enjoyed regularly across Europe. Her countrymen began to question whether she still remained truly one of them, an Australian girl at heart, or merely a European royal diva returning only to seek applause, admiration and public praise. This inner contradiction lingered through every future journey back home. She announced formal retirement time and again, returning to Australia only to quickly rush back to Europe, unable to endure the quiet isolation and simple lifestyle of her homeland. She became like a migrating, wandering bird, traveling constantly between two vast oceans, forever searching for a sense of belonging, yet slowly realizing she had turned into a permanent stranger, belonging fully to neither world. This inner emotional division added a new layer of depth, melancholy and solemn gravity to her later singing, a quiet undertone of sorrow reflecting a soul endlessly struggling to find its true place to rest. Nellie Melba's later years unfolded as a long, graceful, gradual decline marked by elegant poise and quiet melancholy. She left behind a puzzling, unforgettable legacy in music history, performing countless repeated farewell concerts across Europe and Australia. Every time audiences believed they were listening to her final public performance, she would gracefully return once more to the stage, continuing to sing even as her high notes began to tremble softly and her breath grew short and strained. Some critics mocked her for greedy love of money, others sneered that she could never let go of the glamorous spotlight and public adoration, yet only Melba herself understood the quiet truth. Stepping away from the stage meant facing the reality of aging, letting go of her identity as an immortal opera diva and confronting the ordinary, vulnerable self hidden beneath the fame. In 1931, after contracting a severe infection during a cosmetic surgery operation, the legendary opera queen passed away peacefully in a Melbourne hospital. In her final moments she refused expensive, luxurious champagne, requesting instead a simple, cool glass of fresh Australian spring water. After her passing, Melbourne honoured her with a state funeral, the lengthy funeral procession stretching for kilometres, bringing the entire city to solemn, respectful silence. The red Australian land she once longed to escape finally opened its arms, gently embracing her weary mortal remains. Nellie Melba left far more to the world than just her timeless bell-like vocal recordings. She left a profound reflection on ambition, sacrifice, desire, cost and the endless search for belonging. She proved through her entire life that a woman could climb to the absolute peak of global fame through sheer talent, unyielding ambition and unshakable determination. Yet high above the clouds the wind is always cold and loneliness inevitable. Her hunger for power, her fierce protection of her reputation and her relentless drive for success all stemmed from a deep-rooted inner insecurity, a lingering fear of being swallowed once again by the lonely, desolate wilderness she had left behind when all stage lights faded, all public controversy settled into quiet memory. The young Australian girl who once gazed up at the starry sky across the outback wilderness finally found eternal peaceful rest within the timeless resonance of her own singing voice. Now we return to the dessert menu mentioned at the beginning of our tale. The next time you encounter the name Melba printed beside fine desserts, do not see it merely as a label for sweet, delicate treats. Remember what it truly represents: the endless struggle of an Australian girl traveling 16,000 kilometers across oceans, the extraordinary courage of a woman breaking through cruel, rigid social rules to carve her own path to glory. The life story of Nellie Melba answers the quiet question we all ponder: what does true success really mean? For her, success meant earning the admiration and respect of the entire world while willingly returning in the end to the quiet, humble red earth where her journey first began. She was a proud, controversial, arrogant diva, yet also a devout, dedicated artist with almost saint-like reverence for the craft of singing. Our quiet story of Nellie Melba now draws to a gentle close. The night outside has deepened into stillness and all the world has settled into Calm tranquility. May Melba's timeless voice drifting across a century of time turn into the soft night breeze brushing gently past your ears, sweeping away all weariness, fatigue and restlessness accumulated throughout the day. Let go of every worldly chase for fame and gain, release every unfulfilled desire and lingering obsession in this quiet peaceful night. Reconcile gently with your own inner self, just like the Australian land where Nellie finally returned. Embrace your dreams calmly and peacefully. Slow your breathing, settle your thoughts deep into quiet stillness. Good night and sweet dreams.